Most people go to school for roughly 14 years, and after when they finish school, they have no idea about financial literacy or how to handle money or taxes, mortgage, and etc. People who graduate, people who were smart academically, they have no clue about the real world. They have no idea how to manage their money. They have no idea how to handle stuff in the real world. And that's why they end up in 9 to 5. And some even end up in 9 to 5 for the rest of their lives. Hey, my name is Sabin and welcome back to my channel. Today in this video, I'll talk about how school is a trap. Because there are lots of people who genuinely believe that school will give them success. School will give them luxury lifestyle that most people are, living like. Because people are generally thinking if they get very good grades in school, they are going to have fancy cars, fancy luxury cars within what? Like 3, 4, 5, 6 years. But that's never the case. So without any fuss, I'll show you the most deepest truth about school and how you won't achieve your success from it. School will make you smart academically, but that doesn't mean that you are smart in the real world. Because when you leave school, you learn about Shakespeare's and photosynthesis and etc. But that doesn't mean you are actually very smart in the real world. Because school never dares to teach you about basic financial knowledge that every single person should have. For example, like taxes, saving your money, investing your money, how to start a business. It doesn't teach you none of these kind of things. And school basically focuses on grades rather than real life skills. Yes, school does teach you about real life skills, but most of it is just basics, it's just common sense. So you need to take the responsibility now. So it doesn't matter what age you are. So it doesn't matter how young or how old you are. You need to spend a little bit of your time learning about financial literacy. If you don't know about financial literacy, you are going to end up in a 9 to 5 because there's a high chance if a person don't know about how to invest your money, how to save up your money, which is very common sense, and if you don't know about mortgage taxes, you are going to struggle a lot. And of course, you will end up in a 9 to 5 working for somebody that you don't want to. And every single month you get paid normal amount. And eventually you are going to feel bored. You are going to feel like I'm not getting paid enough. So your life is going to look like this. If you end up in a 9 to 5, you have to wake up every single morning at the same time as well. You leave the house and you eat and you come back from home, you eat again and you sleep. And you repeat the same process forever. For the rest of your life, same job, same timing, and same everything. So choose your path wisely. School trains you to be an employee, not an entrepreneur or a businessman. Because school was created in the industrial age to make factory workers, not bosses. So no wonder students who are getting very bad grades in school, they're the one in future invent something new. For example, like a new business that goes very well. And students who are getting like a very good grades in school, who are getting very high scores, they're the one in future end up in 9 to 5 working in the same business as a student who got very bad grades. So when you are academically smart, that doesn't mean you'll be living in a very luxury life. You need to think about the real world. Because yes, academically smart people and real world smart people, they do come along, but not too much. There's only like a few little details about the real world that school system really shares about. But most of it is just wafflings. They don't really care about what's really happening in the real world. Because school, like I said earlier as well, creates employees, not entrepreneurs or businessmen. School gives you a small taste of what the real world really looks like. How, you might be wondering? Well, every time you wake up for school, you eat and you dress, and you leave the house at a certain amount of time to get on school on time. And when you arrive in school, you have to stay in school for roughly 7 to 8 hours, or even more depending on what country you are on. And when you finish school and when you come home, you will have only few amounts of free time left with you only. But most of the free time is takes away from school because let's say you have a homework and 1 to 2 hours takes doing the homework. And so you have very less time on your own. And basically same is with 9 to 5. 9 to 5 is the same process. 95% of the stuff is basically related to kind of like school system. So basically you wake up and you leave the house, and you leave the house at a certain amount of time to get on, to your work on time as well. And when you're at work, you roughly stay there for roughly like 8 to 9 hours, or even more depending on what job you really have. And when you come home, you are only going to have like a very few amount of time, because first you want to have some fun activities, but you are tired, you are unmotivated, and you don't feel like doing the stuff that you wanted to do. So what you tend to do is you come home, you eat, and you just go to bed because you're tired. And that's basically it. As you can see, school and 9 to 5, they're basically related. But the only difference is school is temporary, but a job, it isn't. So basically, school, you only go to school for roughly 5 to 6 years, right? But getting a job, you will be, in the same, if you get stuck in a 9 to 5, then you will be in the same job for the rest of your life. Getting bad grades won't define your future. If you're getting bad grades on one subject or one particular thing, or even you failed all of the tests, that doesn't mean you are stupid or dumb. Because school systems education won't really matter in the real world. Yes, you might get degrees that will help you get a job, but those jobs is going to be very hard to get, because most people, they are struggling because they have no experience on working on one singular job. That's why it's really hard to get into a very high class level job. For example, like a doctor, engineer, surgeon. It's very hard to get onto those kind of jobs. And what most people do and what most people get onto is 9 to 5. And like I said earlier as well, if you're getting bad grades, that doesn't mean you're stupid, you are dumb. It basically means you are good at another thing. Because most people, they are different. Most people, they are good at certain things than others. And one thing that is, grades won't determine if you're smart or not. Because if you're getting like a very good grades in school on just one thing, or like if you get good grades on like various other subjects as well, that doesn't mean that you are good at, in the real life schools. Because getting good grades doesn't mean you are smart or you are stupid as well. Yes, you might be smart academically, but like I said earlier as well, academically smart, it won't really be useful in the real world. Yes, you might get into like a bit of high class jobs, but it's going to be really tough getting into these jobs. And let me tell you again, there are so many people who they really want to become like engineers, doctors, pilots, and other jobs as well, who are literally high level class. But school system, they don't really teach about, basic financial knowledge, so there will be very hard time to getting into those kind of jobs as well. So, and like I said earlier as well, if you are bad at one thing, that means you are good at another thing that most people, they are struggling on. And what school system really does is forces you to work on something that you're bad at to get good at, which is, is pointless. Because if you're getting good at that will never be useful in your life, then what's the point? And that's exactly what school system really does to you. Okay, that's all for today. I hope you realize that school won't bring you success. And I'm not saying that, drop out of school, do this or do that. All I'm saying is, if you really want to become like a doctor, engineer, pilot, or if you really want to, get into a job that's very like high level, then yes, you do need to succeed in school. But you need to take responsibility. Don't always rely on school. Yes, you do need the grades to get onto that, onto those kind of levels. But if you don't know about financial literacy, if you don't know about basic knowledge that school doesn't really share to you, you need to you need to stay independent and learn these kind of things to yourself as well. You need to learn about the real world skills rather than just focusing on school. Yes, you should focus on school if you want to get a job, but you need to realize that, school systems, education won't really come handy in the real world. And for now, I'll see you in the next one. Keep hustling, keep growing, and keep learning. I'll see you in the next one.
Crazy,
Yes.
man. I'm getting crazy.